So yeah, so just I'm just basically walking through this day. Now, a kiss, believe it or not, a kiss is really powerful because once they actually touch kisses, like the touch lips, and they allow you to sort of be there while they. I know it's a natural thing to do, but it's not something you will normally do around people you not comfortable with 100%. So that is like an opening. That like once I see someone kiss, I'm like, oh cool, and I usually will take a shot of it no matter what, just because they might be the only time they kiss if they're one of those kind of couples. And I had one couple once who they're like, we're not touchy touchy, we don't want to do touchy touchy, we're just gonna be. And honestly, it kind of taught me something new. It taught me that I could take some pretty good images of people and their personalities and their elements without having them get all intimate and get all touchy touchy and get all sort of forehead babyish. So yeah, so that opens up a window, and then I start moving into some of that sort of idea of kind of these sort of hipster sort of shots where I think are kind of different, and it starts sort of getting them in the head that I might do these photos where they're not looking at the camera, that we're just kind of standing and we're looking in opposite directions. And I mean, and she's giggling at the whole idea still, even though she's seen my work. She hired me. She loved my work. So like, she's seen this before and she knows what it is, but this has nothing to do with my work. It's had nothing to do with anything like that. It has to do with her feeling a little self-conscious of being now all of a sudden on the other side of that image. So, and anyone will be, like I'm conscious when I'm goofing around with my wife trying to do hipster shots at Walmart or anything like that. So it is what it is. It's part of the process. He's still kind of like, okay, we're doing this. And so like as you can see, like a lot of the images. Oh, and one thing you can also pick up on, and this is a frame that came up. I don't know if I ended up using it, but if it's that dark edit, it's probably not a use. But whenever I notice my couple start looking around, for example, I know they're concerned about the people around them. That's huge. So like for me, in some situations you can avoid him, so you kind of have to walk him through it. You have to kind of coach him through like the ideas, like, hey, there's gonna be people looking at you, forget him, or like whatever it takes, just talk to them or whatever. Whatever gets them to sort of forget that there will be people there, or that they're gonna look at them weird, or that they're gonna be sort of looking at them being together and being intimate or anything like that. You have to sort of be very conscious of these things. So this is the first set of images, and once in a while you grab an image. It's a good image, but he's still kind of still working himself to like being in front of a camera and being okay with it. So this is kind of when I walk them through those things, and then I get them to sort of get close, and this thing happens, and then all of a sudden, starts like he starts kind of pulling a little tighter, and they start sort of slightly letting you into that, and he'll play with it, and she'll play back, and they'll sort of be playing back and forth a little bit, but then you get these moments where like they drop their guards, like, and you can get something, you can get sort of this image where like they're connecting, and it doesn't feel like I'm forcing them, and she's actually looking, and he's actually kind of like tenderly standing close to her, so all those kind of things start happening, and then once again, like he starts looking around, there's other people and whatever it is that's going on. So those are things you constantly have to sort of be conscious of. How do I get them back to this? And a lot of it for me is movement, like moving them from location to location, or getting them to move in the things that we're doing, for example. So like now we start, for example, like, oh wait, actually, here, before I move to that. So for example, like in this situation, I brought him to this area where hopefully we're a little bit away. It wasn't a sunny or whatever the case may be. But once I start sort of seeing a slightly openings, I start getting closer. I start putting my camera fairly close to them, and that way, even if some of the images are not keepers, I'm getting the camera on their face, so they sort of start getting to know, like, to get sort of familiar with the idea of like I'm gonna get close. So and then if I still need to break a little bit more of that sort of feel, like I had him to lose his hair, so he got more comfortable, get him to sort of do a few more portraits, just get him to sort of interact. Like even this is one of the ones I think I was going to tell you. Like, I actually love this image because it just feels like a friend shot it, like someone who, like, like you're somewhere hanging out and your friend just grabs you, and you just took it, and it's cool. I just love the feel of how natural it feels, like it just doesn't feel forced. It is a prom shot, but who cares, it's a good shot because it doesn't feel forced, it doesn't feel stiff. So, um, But yeah, so you just kind of I try to take pictures of the environment as much as possible. Sometimes I'm so like into that mode of getting to work with them, I forget. But some photographers are much better than that, and I notice those things, and it's something that I think is important. If you take a lot of time to do it, sometimes it also gives them a break. So I'm a little bit more hands on. So, but it's something that I'm trying to sort of incorporate more into when I shoot. Walking is big for me because that's usually when I get them to sort of just move, like we're going from one location to the next, but it's actually something happening. Is there's an interaction happening? Sometimes I'll have couples, I see couples walk without holding hands, and I'll let them. But sometimes, what's one of the things I'll be like, hey, just be together, be closer as we walk, and naturally, sometimes they'll just hold hands. So that way, it doesn't feel like I'm telling them what to do, and they don't feel like I'm sort of guiding them and sort of posing them in any way. And that sort of starts giving you this more natural sort of things. And people move differently. People hold hands differently. I love the way people hold hands differently. So that's something that I always photograph anyhow. And if I find a place that has some really cool light, like I'll stop and I'll be like, yo, let's just spend some time here and, you know, hang out. And, this is kind of what I start working with them on the next step, which is get them to be more comfortable and silly and playful with each other. And we'll break it up into some other things like this kind of stuff if the light is good or whatever. And then once again bring it back to like getting them to be close together and getting them to be really close together and be silly. And then I get close and I don't tell him a whole lot of what to do, but then just once you can see like even his smile is starting to change and it's starting to sort of let you break in. And this is me probably telling him just get close, and he might feel a little bit forced, but at the same time he's sort of starting to get into that place. And she was really cool about it, and she was really doing some really comfortable stuff and movement, and I really love that. And I think he kind of picked up on it, and I think that helped both of them. So that's kind of how we start getting to that. And one of the other things that I do a lot is I tell them a lot of like the same thing. I don't really do a lot of different things. Like, I think it's better to do the same repetitive things so they kind of get used to sort of a certain repertoire, a certain movement, a certain idea of what I'm doing. That way, they don't have to second guess themselves as much. And I don't have a list of 20 different poses. I remember I was hired for the job once, and it was for a wedding, and I knew they were not my client, but they persisted. And I told them, listen, I tell you what, I'll charge you for an engagement session, and if you still want to like book me for the wedding, fine. We did this session, and they were just asking me for more posts, and I said, I don't know how to pose. I don't pose. I don't know repertoire of photos. I just need you guys to be together. So that is sort of the approach that I take on all these things. Like, and it repeats, and then people just kind of start being comfortable and start giving you things like this, and then it's just a process. It's a process of like being close and being intimate. People love being intimate, man. It's just we don't have the chance to do it as often as we want to because we're so bombarded by information, by stimulation, and by life. Just being busy 24/7. We take a lot of these sort of opportunities for granted, and it is just the way of the world. But that doesn't mean people don't have it in them. Like that couple, for example, that I told you that they were not that intimate, and this is him being a little goofy with her, and it's kind of like a little bit boyish, like what boys do with girls, kind of stuff, like and she kind of enjoyed it, and I think after a second, she pushed him away. It's like stop doing that to me. So it's just it's just a process, and from time to time you just get these photos that feel natural, like feel like they just kind of like open themselves up to you, and that's the process. That's really it. When it comes down to it, that's really it. And we kind of work it through like many different scenarios. And sometimes I get obsessed and I find a spot. I'm like, oh, let's play. And they think I'm a goof because like I'm like I love this. And that's when I put the guys in these situations where they're like, just stay there, dude. Like just move this or move back or do this. And they're not like, oh, this is kind of weird, but it's gonna look cool. I always promise them that it's something different. So they know that eventually I'm going to find a spot where I'm like, dude, just let me do something here. And they're going to trust me. And they're going to be like, oh, that was a really cool shot. I did like that. So, and I'm still getting them some kind of semi-traditional shots. Like I don't shoot a whole lot of them, but I'll shoot like a handful of them. That way people can have those, and mom and grandma can be happy if they don't see any of those. They might hate me later. And then I do some of the closer, more intimate ones. So you kind of do a mixture of things where I think it just kind of keeps them sort of on their toes. And then the other idea at the end of the day, I kind of want them to have fun. I kind of want them to be together and enjoy themselves and just be who they are. I want to capture a certain sense of their personality. Like I feel like when I see some of the photos, I don't know him personally, but I do hope that they feel like him. And when she looks at him, it's almost like, oh yeah, that's my guy. Like I know that look and I know that expression and all that kind of stuff, and vice versa. So it's at that point it just becomes a lot about sort of finding locations and just sort of finding ways to just kind of walking through things and just kind of most about distractions. Like I personally like these a lot. They feel like very old to me. Like they feel like they were taken like 40 years ago or something like that. I just love that.